stop motion films of all time, and I think it's one of the only ones that really stood out. It's a little film by a Hollywood director by the name of Tim Burton called The Nightmare Before Christmas. Yeah, the character we're going to be drawing here today, he is the central figure in this movie. He's the protagonist. Now I know he's a skeleton dude, and that seems kind of spooky, but this guy has all the best intentions in the world. Actually, kind of gets himself in some trouble, but he shapes things up there in the end. Who am I talking about here?
Jack Skellington.
Oh, totally Jack Skellington. Yeah, we're going to be drawing Jack together. Now I'm going to go ahead and move Carl so we can get ready for our Jack class. And we're going to be picking up and drawing with our super cool Animation Academy pencils here. Now you'll notice there's something kind of different about these pencils than your average pencil. That's that they do not have erasers, yeah. But it's okay, we're not in trouble. This is intended, believe it or not. We have no erasers in here. The reason being, this is more of a sketch art class. We're going to put the emphasis on the fun. We're going to start very light, very loose, and we're going to kind of touch things up as we go. Now, the really cool thing about drawing Jack, too, is he's one of the few characters that really lends himself to just a really loose and kind of wobbly style. He's a little bit different than a lot of our classically animated characters. That being said, let's hop into things. Now, we start all of our characters with a basic geometric shape. I think for Jack, it's safe to say a pretty decent sized circle is going to work best here. So on your pages, don't press too hard, but lightly start to scratch in a decent sized circle. Now the way I draw my circles is I lightly go over the shape multiple times. When I wisp out just one circle lightly, I can't get it too spot on, but if I just lightly keep going over that shape again and again and again, you get something relatively close. Alright. So again, this should be pretty light, pretty loose for now. We want to put some construction lines down on this circle to help us figure out where Jack's features are going to sit. So I'm going to do an up and down line that's bent out to the left here. So it's going to be like a nice crescent moon looking shape right there. And one more line that's going to be bent down. It's coming across horizontal. This is going to be Jack's center access line here. He's going to be a slight 3/4 angle here. Alright. Now we're going to veer away from the head for just a moment. I'm going to draw in Jack's neck. Jack's neck is basically this really long, thin couple of lines, just one right next to the other. Now you notice too here, I'm actually pushing down with the pencil. I'm going to go ahead and make some definitive marks. Alright. Now I'm going to need my true Nightmare Before Christmas fans. We need you all to weigh in on this one. We have, let's see if you raise a hand if you're a real Nightmare Before Christmas fan. Alright, cool, you gotta help me. So hook me up here, what kind of bow tie does Jack have?
Bat.
A bat, yeah, he's got a really cool classic bat bow tie. It's kind of funky looking, but it is a bat bow tie. Check it out. That bow tie starts with a basic shape. It's an upside down triangle. So connected right underneath that neckline, we're going to have a nice kind of puffed out triangle. Think like candy corns. It's a little bit puffy. Alright, so it's kind of very rounded out shape. Now the next thing we're going to do, and this is kind of funky for a bat, but I kid you not, he's got these cool, kind of like cone looking ears that come off each corner right here. So basically draw a nice little long cone off of each corner. Now I draw things on the right side of this character just a little bit longer than things on the left. He's in a slight 3/4 view, and this kind of lends to the illusion that he's turning ever so slightly. The last thing we're going to do on the big knot at the center of this bow tie is give this bat some eyes. They're kind of these funky ovals that lean in on each other. Now again, I like to stay very Tim Burton-esque. Tim Burton is kind of an eccentric director. So I draw the eye on the right quite a bit larger, and it can actually tack it underneath a little bit. It's a little bit funky, but it totally works for this guy. Alright. Now the next part of our bat bow tie, we're basically going to pull 3 lines off of each side of this figure. And again, just a couple tips. Our middle line is going to be a little longer than 2 on the outside, and the ones on the right are going to be a little bit longer overall. Now, something that can kind of bring us a little bit of peace when we're drawing characters like Jack is Tim Burton actually, he encouraged a lot of his artists, his concept designers, those are the guys that design not only the characters but Halloween Town itself. He often told them, hey, go ahead and draw with your non-drawing hands. Wild as that sounds, you kind of want some funky looking shapes here. So that's why a lot of these characters have a really cool, eccentric, kind of just overall weird design to them. So that being said, again, hopefully it's just a lot less pressure to make these perfect. Jack already has a really funky look to it. Alright, once we have those 3 lines, we're just going to carve out a nice, big, rounded out, like C-looking shape. A nice curved out U in between each set of these lines. Put a nice web kind of look to those bat wings right there. So again, can just carve out a really nice shape. All right. Now, as well, you're going to be able to take these home with you, so it doesn't have to be perfect now. But if you'd like, I kind of like to use the side of my pencil, and I just almost just feather in or dust in a little bit of tone to this bow tie. I think it looks a lot cooler if we shaded it. You can leave it, completely untouched and take it home later and get it just right. But I like to keep it kind of light value. I don't go too terribly dark in here. And again, if you use the side of your pencil, I think you get a really nice gradation. Kind of avoids those streak marks that you get when you use the tip of that pencil there. Just lightly shade all that in. And guys and gals, check it out. We're already halfway through this character. How are we doing out there? Well, check in about here. Maybe hit me up with some thumbs out there. Where are we at with our drawings? How are we feeling about Jack? Okay, very cool. Looks like overall good. You can tell we're having a good time. We're gonna hop now into the more expressive part of this character. That bow tie is probably the trickiest part of this game. The rest is pretty smooth sailing and a lot of fun. Now we're gonna draw Jack's eyes, and they're really simple, but there's a lot going on there. You can kind of play with these shapes later when you get home again, and it really changes the mood of the character. Basically, these big eye sockets. Now, for Jack, I like to start with some ovals. So right above that horizontal line, on each side of this vertical line, slightly scratch in a nice big tall oval. I'm going to start with the one on the right. It's a pretty big, rounded out oval. Now, I've mentioned this whole 3/4 view, so here's the pop quiz. You think this size should be smaller or larger? Totally. Wow. Check these guys out. Perspective geniuses out here. Totally. Make it a little bit smaller, a little bit thinner too, if you can. Gives kind of a cool effect to our Jack Skellington. All right, now I start with the light shape, and this is why. Here we're going to work from our wrist. We're going to break that little rule where you walk your wrist out to draw. And we're just going to, I'd say, hit sides of this at a time. Now try at all costs to avoid sharp corners, but we want to lump up to that shape. So don't worry if there's a little bit of bumps here and there. It's totally going to be all right if this is not a perfectly rounded out shape. It actually looks a lot cooler if it's not. Or any other skeletons that have perfectly rounded out features. If you'd like to, sometimes I like to put a little tip mark coming right off the bottom. Get a little swoosh right there. Now this is definitely an area you want to use your pencil to push and work in that shape. And this is a nice big feature. It looks way cooler if it's darker than that bow tie. Make it nice and dark. And again, you can totally play with this later. Move the shape of that eye and just check out how much it changes the expression of the characters. Okay, now this is the easiest nose in the biz to draw. Could you not check it out? Right where this little X is, 1 and 2 little dashed lines. So we just show Jack's nose. Now last but not least, we're already down to his final feature, and that is his skeleton grin. Now if Jack had ears, this grin would definitely travel ear to ear. He doesn't, but hey, we're in luck. We're smarter than the average artist. We get these cool construction lines. This is about where those ears would sit, and that's exactly where we're going to push the smile. So I'm starting out here on the left, and I'd say pushing pretty close to the outside of my circle. I'm just going to draw that smile. I like to throw a couple of lumps in along the way. Kind of adds a little bit more character to this guy. Again, trying to avoid those sharp corners, but lump up that smile for sure. And once you've established the smile, you can cap it with a couple of these lines. And again, I think our Nightmare Before Christmas enthusiasts would agree that Jack's smile is not complete without all those cool tick marks. There's no right or wrong number for these. Just draw a couple of them. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. We're down to the finale now. Now we just need to go back over our basic construction shape. Now we held off all the way to here for this shape for the sake of really getting us into that lumpy mood of drawing. So start right above the neck and just start drawing curves at a time. And again, trying to avoid corners, but don't worry about making a perfect circle here, which is kind of cool. It takes a lot of pressure off. It's kind of tricky to draw a perfect circle. And thankfully for Arson's, Jack is a character that just lends himself to that really lumpy looking shape. Alright. I'll tell you what. If you've followed along step by step, I do believe you just created the Pumpkin King himself, Jack Skellington. How did you do out there? Well, I'll tell you what, it's not complete until you go ahead and add your super cool autograph. And you've definitely completed the Pumpkin King. Super cool saying voice. rather thin, dude. Now, how'd we do? I'd like to check in before I head out. It would totally make my day if I could see you guys and girls in drawing. So, on the count of 3, and I'll take into consideration if we're still coloring in those shapes. It's totally cool. On the count of 3, let's hold these up. All right, let's do this. 1, 2, 3. Jack Skellington. What do we got up there? Ooh, this is spoon. There's a lot of skeletons in there. Wow, wow, these are all amazing. It's hard to say. This is a good skeletons. I'm pretty darn impressed, guys and gals. Oh, very cool. All right, well, I'm impressed. I can tell Noel's impressed. He's wearing his impressed face right here. So when we're impressed, you guys can pass. So give yourselves a round of applause. Very cool. All right, well, these are yours to take home with you. If you'd like to come back, we've got kind of less spooky, but equally cool characters. And we'd love to have you. If not, have a wonderful evening class.
Round of applause for this Eric fellow.